Hello, friends. This is Sheriff Labrador and my faithful partner, Sheriff Dobie.
Hi guys, today we have something special for you. We are diving into the world of Roblox and playing the Escape Funnies Toy Shop mode.
In this mode, our main task is to escape from the creepy toy store, but it will be harder than it seems.
We'll have to hide and run from the terrifying toy that wants to trap us in its world.
Friends, hold on tight because it's going to be both fun and scary.
In this mode, we have 6 tough challenges, each testing our skills to the limit. We might even face the main toy boss at the end. It sounds frightening and exciting, but we can handle it because we are a team. We just turned on the lights to see better, and now we are heading into the ominous tunnel to find the exit.
This tunnel looks really spooky. I hope we don't encounter many traps.
The main thing is to be careful and stick together. Friends, keep your fingers crossed for us. A real challenge lies ahead.
What are these tracks? Some monster sneaked into the ventilation and left its tracks here. Maybe we could crawl through there and find the exit right away. But the vent is closed. We'll have to go through this creepy tunnel with broken pipes. Dobie, are you afraid to jump through this hot air?
No, I'm not afraid. Do you think I'm a coward? We've gone through many scary modes together. I'm almost used to them. By the way, it's better not to look down right now. Wait, do you hear that? Or is it just me?
I don't hear anything. We've encountered a real challenge. A scary maze, guys. This maze is not only complicated, but also full of dangers. A huge, terrifying toy will chase us if we don't find the exit in time. It will turn us into its toys.
This challenge will require our maximum mental and physical strength. The maze is huge, and we must be very careful to find the exit as quickly as possible. But don't worry, Labrador and I will guide you. And remember, friends,
this is just the first challenge in this mode. Ahead of us are many difficulties and puzzles. We must be ready for anything and never give up.
Hey, Labrador, this parkour is really tough. It seems we are facing the hardest challenges in this mode.
Indeed, Dobie, but this is just the beginning. We have a lot more ahead of us. By the way, do you remember what our friends said about the next challenge?
Oh, yes. They mentioned something about red and green colors. They said it's one of the most interesting challenges here. We need to be ready for anything.
I remember they said these colors are related to choosing a path or solving puzzles. We need to be alert and use our brains.
Exactly, Labrador. Let's leave the parkour behind and get ready for the next challenge. Remember, teamwork and attentiveness are our best allies here.
Absolutely, Dobie. Let's move forward. New challenges await us, and we must prove that sheriffs are not easily broken. Green light. Run, Labrador. Oh, wait, red light. Stop and don't move. Green light. Run, Dobie. Run. Just a bit more. You can do it. Oh no, stop, red light. No way out, or as they say. Or as...
Labrador, I almost lost because of you. Is something wrong with your reactions? The green light was on, and you only mentioned the red. Do you not know the difference between green and red?
Ha ha. Sorry, Dobie. I got a bit confused. Next time I'll pay more attention to the signals. Don't worry. I'll react faster in the next challenge.
We've passed the second challenge of this strange living toy, and now we just need to climb up and start the third challenge. Honestly, I thought it would be easier. This is the hardest challenge for us.
You're right. I hope you guys are subscribing to our channel and liking our efforts. These challenges are really tough, but the third challenge will be 100 times harder. I doubt our friend told the truth.
Hey, Labrador, look what's ahead. Our task is to climb this tower of toy blocks before this Titan toy robot catches and crushes us. Okay, Labrador, let's look at our options. These columns of blocks can be our cover. We can run between them to avoid the robot's grasp.
Great idea, Dobie. We can also use these toy blocks to slow down its movement. Throw them at its feet to create obstacles and gain valuable seconds.
Right, Labrador. And don't forget about teamwork. Coordinate our actions. One of us distracts the robot while the other circles the edge of the tower. This way, we can split its attention and gain more time.
Exactly, Dobie. Let's get to it. Let's show this robot who the real sheriffs are. Stick to the plan, and we'll definitely succeed.
Only 6 seconds left. I'm sure we can survive. If not, Labrador, you were the best friend I've ever had. Hooray! We managed to outsmart the Titan robot. Honestly, it was pretty dumb. Just a clumsy piece of metal destroying everything in its path.
I think we shouldn't have opened this door. It's really creepy here. It looks like the place where we need to find an exit and escape from the main character of this mode. Wish us luck, subscribers.
Hey, Labrador, look who's chasing us now. It's a living toy, and it's after us through this abandoned toy warehouse. We need to keep moving and not let it catch us, or we'll be its next victims.
Wow, Dobie, this is really terrifying. Let's use our knowledge and experience to get out of this situation. We must find a way to dodge it.
I see a machine ahead. Could it be an escape route? No, it doesn't look like it. There's lava down there. How is there lava in a toy store? Some monster must have created it while we were driving.
I wanted to tell you something yesterday. We received a call from the toy store owner. He said toys started disappearing, and all the surveillance cameras were turned off. This prompted Dobie and me to immediately head to the scene.
Yes, Labrador is right. When we arrived, the store seemed empty and abandoned, with toys and plush animals scattered everywhere.
We started the investigation and found Mr. and Mrs. Squirrel hiding in the far corner of the store. It turned out they were taking the toys, thinking they were for their children.
When we asked them why they didn't use the surveillance cameras, they said they didn't know how to turn them on and were just trying to do something nice for their kids.
In the end, we cleared things up and suggested they visit the store during business hours to buy toys. They apologized for the inconvenience and promised not to take anything without permission again.
So friends, sometimes mysterious disappearances aren't about dark forces. Sometimes it's just parents trying to make their kids' lives brighter.
It seems we've been through a lot, but now the fourth challenge awaits us, which turns out to be a real test.
Yes, Labrador, this challenge is like games such as Mario. We need to run and jump, avoiding traps and collecting everything that can help us stop the giant head of this living toy that is trying to catch and eat us.
Now Dobie and I found ourselves in a world reminiscent of classic Mario in 2D. We started on a platform surrounded by green pipes and brick blocks, but the real excitement was ahead. We were being chased by a giant toy head. We had to jump and collect bombs to slow it down.
Exactly, Labrador. These platform jumps are quite the challenge. It feels like being a puppy again, trying to reach high shelves. And those bombs are a real treasure. Throw one, and the head slows down, giving us a chance to run further. Great job, Labrador. We're almost at the finish, friends. And who would have thought that simply escaping from a toy head could be so exciting?
Here we are in the ventilation system, friends, or almost there. We've already made it halfway, and honestly, I'm a little worried. These pipes look like they haven't been cleaned in ages. And the air here, it's not the freshest. But we can't stop now. We need to keep going to get out of this toy store. Who would have thought that toys could be so dangerous?
You're right, Labrador. And these rusty pipes? It smells like an old basement, but it seems like we're no strangers to tough tasks. These old abandoned toys scattered through the sewers are staring at us with their empty eyes. They're definitely not happy to see us, so we need to be careful and stay alert.
We made it through that sewer, and I have no idea how we managed to escape. The toys tried to grab us. Oh, Dobie, look, it's game number 5.
It kind of reminds me of some game, or maybe it's just me. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments.
What a challenge. Dobie and I are back in the toy store, and now we have to jump on platforms that are about to start falling. As soon as they turn red, we need to get off, or we're in trouble. Honestly, I'm a bit nervous because these platforms are so slippery that you barely have time to react.
Yeah, Labrador, these platforms are a real headache. You barely land on one before it starts glowing red. It feels like a game of cat and mouse. You almost made it, but it's about to disappear beneath your feet. Of course, we're sheriffs, but here we really need to be extra careful. I even joked a few times that if I fall, I'll land on a soft toy. Whew, we barely made it through this level. What's next? Is this the end?
This toy train looks extremely suspicious. I doubt the exit is here, but we have no other choice. Settle in, Dobie. We're in for a long ride.
Let's go, Sheriff Labrador. I hope we don't encounter any screamers along the way and everything goes smoothly. Oh no, it was a trap.
What do we do now? We're falling straight down. We're going to crash, Sheriff Labrador.
Are you here? I see the final arena.
Yes, I'm here. It looks like this is the final challenge. Oh, wait. It's that same living toy in a robo-suit. How do we deal with it, guys? We're facing the main boss, a toy robot threatening us with lasers and a giant metal structure.
Yes, Labrador. This robot means business. It's firing all its weapons and trying to crush us with its huge feet.
But we won't give up. To defeat this boss, we need to aim for its weak spot, the legs. We have rocket launchers and we need to hit them directly.
Let's act quickly and in sync. Labrador, you take the rocket launcher on the right, I'll take the left. Let's focus fire on its legs while we have the chance. Watch how it opens the vents on its legs.
Now's our chance to attack. Launch the rockets.
Great shot, Labrador. We damaged its leg. Just a bit more and we'll have it.
The boss is getting more aggressive. Watch out. Dodge the lasers and keep attacking its legs.
Another rocket hit the mark. The leg is starting to smoke. We're almost there.
We're on the home stretch. We'll defeat this evil robot. Hooray! We managed to destroy it. They didn't call me Diamond Eye at the Sheriff Academy for nothing. I'm a really good shot. Now we just need to find the way out of here, guys.
You're all the best. You helped us defeat this toy robot. I hope we really won and this isn't another trap.
Guys, help us! Quickly like the video, leave a comment, and watch it until the end, or we might fall straight into the lava.
Hello, everyone. Imagine you're stuck in an abandoned pizzeria where danger lurks at every turn. The main goal is to escape this creepy place. But be careful. The terrifying chef Papa Pizza is on your trail, cooking up his horrible dishes from human parts. Yes, you heard that right. This will be a true test of your agility and wits.
Welcome to our channel, friends. It's your Sheriff's Labrador and my trusty partner, Dobie, back with you again. Today we have something special. We are embarking on an exciting adventure in a Roblox mode called Escape from Papa Pizza's Pizzeria. Dobie, tell everyone what challenges they'll face.
Oh yes, guys. You'll face puzzles, traps, and the need to quickly run away from this crazy chef. But don't worry, Labrador and I will be there to help you every step of the way.
Ready for an incredible adventure? Then get comfortable, gather your courage, and let's see if we can escape Papa Pizza's Pizzeria together.
Oh no, Labrador, where's the light? It seems Papa Pizza is after us. Hide, Labrador. We need to act quickly and precisely because Papa Pizza is right on our heels.
Oh, guys, he's right behind us. Do you see those scary eyes and that creepy apron? Papa Pizza is cooking his horrible dishes and wants to add us to the menu. We need to find a way out urgently.
Exactly, Labrador. Listen carefully, guys. To save ourselves, we need to find a hole in the floor and jump into it. It's our only chance to escape this crazy chef. Let's move quickly. We don't have much time.
We did it, guys. We're safe for now, but stay alert. There are always new challenges ahead in this game.
Thanks for being with us, and until the next adventure. Whew, that was scary, but we made it. Subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and leave comments about what modes you'd like to see next. And now we are...
Yes, in the stinky sewers. Oh, the smell here is terrible. But we have no choice, guys. To get out of here, we need to climb through a hatch. The problem is, Papa Pizza is waiting for us up there.
Exactly, Labrador. The hatch leads directly to the bathroom, and Papa Pizza is already there, ready to catch us. But we have a plan. First, we need to find the hatch and climb up carefully. Then we'll try to outsmart him.
I see the hatch ahead. Be careful and watch your step to avoid traps. Dobie, do you think we can outsmart Papa Pizza?
Of course, Labrador. We need to be smarter and faster. Guys, as soon as we climb through the hatch, be ready to act quickly. We need to figure out how to bypass Papa Pizza and escape.
Let's try. Here's the hatch. I see it. Is everyone ready? Climb carefully and quietly. Just like that. We're almost there.
Oh no, he's here! Run, guys, faster! We need to find a way out of this bathroom and avoid Papa Pizza. Labrador, where to next?
We got through that scary web. But how did Papa Pizza turn into Papa Spider? Oh no, we stepped on a spike. We'll have to start over.
Now we're navigating through a spiked trap. We have to be very careful not to get caught in them.
Yes, Dobie, this is definitely not a place you want to get stuck. Watch your step, guys, and stay away from those menacing spikes. We can handle this together. Stay close.
After this trap, another challenge awaits us. We'll have to do parkour over old pipes that could collapse at any moment. Be careful, guys, and help each other out.
Once this was an excellent establishment where all the animals of the city came for the best pizza. But something happened, and now Papa Pizza has closed his pizzeria and become incredibly evil. They say his secret recipe was stolen, and since then, he lost all interest in cooking. We're here to find out what happened and try to escape this creepy place.
Yes, Labrador, you're right. This place is filled with an atmosphere of eerie abandonment. Papa Pizza was famous for his recipes, but after the theft, he completely changed. Now the pizzeria is not a place of joy, but a labyrinth full of dangers. We must be careful. We just passed by the kitchen, and there was a huge pile of dough, as if Papa Pizza was trying to recreate his recipes, but failed. He couldn't make that magical pizza anymore.
We've seen how the pizzas turned into real traps. Remember that giant pizza that fell from the ceiling right in front of us? That's definitely not the pizza we're used to seeing. Papa Pizza has set up many traps here to make sure no one can escape. At one point, it seemed to me that he was wandering these corridors himself, guarding his lost empire.
Yes, this pizzeria has turned into a real nightmare. We went through the kitchen and there were pizzas with teeth. Something incredible. And those pizza boxes that open and try to grab you certainly don't add any confidence. Papa Pizza clearly doesn't want anyone to get out of here alive. His malice has soaked every corner of this place.
Now we've reached the main hall and everything is turned upside down. Broken tables and chairs, scattered ingredients. Everything indicates that a real chaos happened here. Papa Pizza, losing his secret recipe, transformed from a kind chef into a real monster. We have only one option left. Find a way out of this madness and try to restore the pizzeria's former glory.
I agree, Labrador. We've overcome many challenges, but the most important one is ahead. Papa Pizza may be evil, but we've proven time and again that we can handle any difficulties. Let's keep moving to escape this place and perhaps help Papa Pizza find his former self.
Friends, I want to share a very secret story with you. It all started when we received several strange reports from the residents. They claimed they had seen a living pizza that moved on its own and seemed to have its own plans. At first, we thought it was a joke, but when the number of reports increased, it became clear that something unusual was going on. Dobie and I decided to check out these reports and went to the location where the most calls were coming from.
When we arrived at the scene, we were greeted by frightened residents pointing to Papa Pizza's pizzeria. It looked normal, but something was off. We cautiously entered and immediately noticed unusual tomato sauce marks on the floor. We followed these marks and ended up in a storeroom where we were in for a real surprise. There was a huge living pizza moving around and making strange noises. We realized it wasn't just alive, but also aggressive.
It turned out that this living pizza was the result of an experiment gone wrong by Papa Pizza. He had wanted to create the most delicious and unique pizza in the world by adding rare ingredients and a special magical seasoning to his recipe. But something went wrong, and the pizza gained its own consciousness and the ability to move. Moreover, it decided that it could become the ruler of the city and take control. Dobie and I realized we needed to act quickly to stop it.
We began to devise a plan to neutralize the living pizza. It was important not only to stop it, but also to ensure that something like this wouldn't happen again. We remembered that the magical seasoning could be neutralized by adding certain ingredients to the pizza. In search of these ingredients, we turned to our friends in the city, and soon we had everything we needed. The hardest part was getting close to the pizza to add the ingredients, but our teamwork and determination helped us succeed.
After several attempts, we managed to neutralize the living pizza. It lost its movement and became just an ordinary pizza. We returned it to Papa Pizza and explained what had happened. He was shocked and promised not to use magical ingredients again. The city regained its peace, and all the residents were grateful for our rescue.
This story was an important lesson for us about how experiments can be dangerous if you don't know when to stop. We realized that our job is not just to protect the city from external threats, but also to prevent internal problems. From now on, we will always be more careful with any unusual events so that such incidents won't happen again.
We finally made it out of that pizzeria. These challenges were pure hell. Pizzas with trap flavors, trampolines throwing us into endless nightmares. But now, even more adventures await us. The forest. And it seems Papa Pizza hasn't forgotten about us. He's still on our tail. We need to find a way out through these dark trees, or we'll end up in his clutches forever.
This forest is really creepy, Labrador. It's as dark as a basement, and I can hear something rustling in the bushes. We've survived the pizzeria traps, but this will be even harder. The key is finding those trash bins with fences. I'm sure that's our only chance to escape. We need to climb, jump, and then we'll be able to get away from Papa Pizza.
Do you hear that? It's him. Papa Pizza won't back down. He's chasing us, and we need to move fast. Those trash bins with fences are our way out. But no matter how hard we try, this forest feels endless. We'll have to jump and hope that the next trash bin is the one that will lead us out.
No shadow or sound will stop us, Labrador. We've already gone through the horrors of the pizzeria, so this forest is just another obstacle on the road to freedom. The key is not to lose our heads. We're almost there. Let's jump over the fence and break free from this forest like real sheriffs.
Here it is, the spot. We're at the last trash bin. This is our chance, Dobie. We need to jump straight into the darkness, but I believe there's an exit there. Let's go.
We did it, Labrador. Just a few more steps and we're safe. Papa Pizza didn't catch us, which means we're free again. See you soon, friends.
Here we are, friends. The pizzeria is behind us, and the forest too. We've gone through all these trials, and despite Papa Pizza trying to catch us, we broke free. I hope you enjoyed our adventure and didn't forget about us while we were running away from that giant pizza. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Our battle will be legendary. This day started like any other. The city was waking up, and Dobie and I were going through the morning reports. But soon, the peace was broken by a call. The dispatcher's voice was tense. There were reports of strange events at the central hospital. Patients were disappearing. Nurses spoke of a mysterious sheriff who had taken control of the institution. And the strangest part, this sheriff looked exactly like me. Dobie and I exchanged glances. This couldn't be a coincidence. I had heard stories about doppelgangers, but I never thought I would encounter one myself. We got into the car and headed to the hospital.
When we arrived, the hospital looked deserted. The large glass doors were locked, and behind them, we could only see dim, flickering lights. No patients, no staff, as if the whole place had been abandoned. Posters with Labrador's face hung on the walls, but something was off about them. His eyes looked cold, and his smile menacing. We cautiously stepped inside. The hallways were dark, the lights flickered, and the air smelled of chemicals. Cameras were everywhere, watching our every move. We had to figure out what was going on.
We moved forward carefully, scanning our surroundings. I could feel that we were being watched. Suddenly, a nurse appeared from around the corner. He looked terrified and whispered that we had to leave while we still could. According to him, the other sheriff had locked all the patients and staff in the basement and had taken over the main office. This was a challenge we couldn't ignore. We headed for the staircase leading down, but as soon as we opened the door, the sound of footsteps filled the corridor. Several guards in black uniforms with patches bearing my own emblem emerged from the shadows. They didn't look friendly.
We knew there would be no talking our way out of this. The guards lunged at us, but we were ready. Labrador threw his baton at one of them, while I used my strength to shove another straight into the wall. The rest hesitated, giving us the chance to break through to the basement. We rushed down the narrow stairs. The air grew heavier. It smelled of age and metal. Rusty pipes lined the walls. Water dripped from the ceiling. Soon, we reached a locked door. Behind it, we heard muffled voices. People were inside.
The door was secured with a massive lock. I glanced around and spotted a toolbox. Grabbing a crowbar, I swung hard at the lock. It gave way with a screech. The door burst open, revealing dozens of frightened but unharmed patients and doctors. They ran toward us, begging to be saved from the false sheriff. I told them to stay put until we dealt with the main threat. We had to find my double.
We climbed to the top floor, where the main office was located. The door was slightly ajar, and we stepped inside. There, in the center of the spacious office, stood my partner's evil twin. He looked exactly like Labrador, except for his eyes. They were dark, lifeless, like empty voids. A strange badge hung from his chest, glowing with a faint red light. He looked at us and smiled. We realized this wasn't just an imposter. This was something inhuman. He didn't speak, but his gaze made it clear he wouldn't let us leave so easily.
He attacked! I barely managed to dodge as his paw slammed into the desk, leaving a deep dent. This me was stronger than any ordinary beast. Dobie tried to sneak up behind him, but with a single motion, the doppelganger flung him aside. I had to find a way to stop him. I noticed that the badge on his chest glowed brighter whenever he attacked. Maybe that was the source of his power.
I understood what Labrador was thinking. We had to remove that badge. I lunged forward, pretending to go for his face, while Labrador leaped from above, grabbed the badge, and yanked it with all his strength. A dull crack echoed through the room. The false sheriff froze. Then his body began to tremble. Awareness flickered in his eyes before he simply dissolved into the air, leaving behind only the metallic badge, now dull and lifeless.
As soon as he vanished, the hospital began to change. The lights brightened, the cameras stopped tracking us, and the eerie silence was replaced by the sounds of voices. We knew the spell or technology that kept people in fear had been broken. Doctors and patients emerged from the basement, cautiously looking around. They were free. We knew it was over.
Once everything calmed down, we stepped outside. The sky was already lightening. Night was over. I looked at Labrador and smirked. We had seen a lot, but nothing like this before. But before we could get into the car, a new call came in. The dispatcher reported strange occurrences happening in the city again. We exchanged glances and started the engine.
The corridor trembled with each impact. Every door concealed the unknown, and we had no idea where the next attack would come from. The lights flickered, strange noises echoed from the ventilation shafts, and the scent of antiseptic mixed with something far more sinister. I could feel it. My doppelganger was toying with us, luring us into a trap. We reached the operating room. The massive metal doors slid open slowly, revealing a chamber filled with surgical instruments hanging from the ceiling and tables draped in dusty sheets. And in the center of it all, he stood, my dark reflection, wearing a twisted grin and staring with cold, empty eyes. He didn't attack immediately. He was waiting, savoring our hesitation. That's when I realized this wasn't just a copy. He could read my thoughts, anticipate my every move. This was me, stripped of conscience, devoid of principles, without mercy.
I saw Labrador freeze for a moment, assessing the situation. The double looked just like him, but something was deeply wrong. He moved like a shadow, his presence felt unnatural, and when he spoke, his voice seemed to pierce through the air itself. And then he struck. His movements were lightning fast, his attacks precise. I tried to intervene, but he dodged effortlessly, predicting my every action. It felt like a nightmare, the kind where your enemy is always faster, always ahead. We tried every technique we knew, but he countered them with ease, as if he had already seen the battle play out in his mind. The only way to win was to outsmart him, to make him believe in a false move.
I feigned exhaustion, letting my body slump as if I were giving up. For just 1 second, he smirked. And that was all we needed. At that moment, Dobie lunged forward, grabbing a surgical lamp and blasting him with blinding light. My double flinched, his expression shifting from arrogance to pure terror. That was my chance. I struck hard, and he staggered back, his eyes widening as he realized he had lost. A horrible screech filled the room as his body began to dissolve, leaving only a flickering outline of his former self. The hospital trembled as if reality itself was collapsing. We barely made it outside before the entire building shuddered and started to fade away. It had all been an illusion, a construct of darkness, but now it was gone.
When it was over, I turned to look at Labrador. He was exhausted, but victorious. We had won. Another day, another rescue. But as we walked away, a chill crept up my spine. For a split second, in the reflection of the hospital's glass doors, I swore I saw him.
As we stepped outside, the hospital behind us began to vanish, dissolving like mist into the night air. It felt like waking from a nightmare that had finally ended. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Dobie patted me on the shoulder, a silent confirmation that we had done everything we could. But something gnawed at me. I knew my double was gone, but was he truly gone? His smirk, his movements, they had been too real to simply disappear. Questions swirled in my mind, but for now, there were no answers.
I glanced around. The city carried on as usual, unaware that just moments ago, we had battled an entity that could have destroyed not only us, but the very fabric of reality itself. I wanted to say something reassuring, but before I could, the dispatcher's voice crackled over the radio. Another call, another nightmare. I sighed, exchanging a knowing look with Labrador. Looked like rest wasn't in our near future. We jumped into the car and headed toward the next anomaly.
I drove through the dark city streets, but my thoughts kept drifting back to the hospital. In the rearview mirror, for a brief moment, I saw a familiar face. My face, but with that same sinister smirk. I blinked quickly, and it disappeared. I wasn't sure if it was just exhaustion or something more, Maybe my double hadn't disappeared completely. Maybe he was just lying in wait, biding his time to return.
When we arrived at the next call, the dark building of the city library loomed before us, shrouded in thick fog.
Save us, friends! Watch the video until the end so we can escape from here. Hello, everyone. So, are you ready to defeat all these running heads? Today, we're going to escape from the running head.
Yes, hey guys, but this won't be easy because there are tough challenges ahead. Please give us a like. It will really help us. And watch until the end so we can defeat everyone.
Exactly, Dobie. But since we're sheriffs, nothing will scare us. Except, well, I'll tell you about that at the end, because everyone has their secrets.
Look, the first running head, but it's very slow, so we can ignore it. Ah, this is easy. But what's ahead of us?
Don't lose vigilance. There might be a lot of traps around.
This maze is simple. There's no ceiling, so we can peek and see where to go.
Great. Behind this barrier, they won't catch us.
I want to see how smart they are.
That was risky, but I love taking risks too. It's part of our job.
Yes, the key is always to plan your actions and have a backup plan for unexpected situations.
Look, they're getting closer. We need to stay alert.
They move strangely and are now stuck together. It looks like they're kissing. Weird.
I can't even imagine how they walk without legs.
Look, a giant head is blocking the way to the finish. We need to find a way to bypass it.
I see. This looks like a focus test. We took these when we became sheriffs.
There are 3 heads in a narrow passage. We'll have to use parkour skills.
Oh no, they're kissing again. Let's turn away so we don't get distracted. Maybe they're doing this on purpose to confuse us.
It looks like that giant head, but fortunately, it's slow and not very smart. We'll easily outsmart it.
Seems like we're close to the end of the first stage. It's just around the corner. Oh, there was a trap here. That's what happens when you lose focus. But since we're not on a mission, it's not scary. Play for fun, guys. You're right. This ladder leads to the portal to the next stage. Let's go.
Looks like we're in some wooden house. There are 2 doors. Let's go left.
He's standing with his back to us, though he doesn't have a back. I think he's facing us.
We need to slip through quickly while he's distracted by the other hole in the wall.
He's standing with his back to us, though he doesn't have a back. I think he's facing us. I don't even know. Oh, I wanted to say that I don't know where to go. Why is he standing? This is unpredictable.
I think this is designed to scare us. Where to go? I'm not sure. Since the monitor can't emit smells, we can't rely on instincts, so we're going blindly. The key is not to turn around so we don't end up back at the start.
Great. We've reached the checkpoint. We're halfway through the maze. Checkpoints aren't placed for no reason. There may be danger ahead.
Oh, let's quickly slip through the gap before that head wakes up. Another checkpoint, great.
This is a new element of the challenge. We need to turn at the right time so the head doesn't catch us in its mouth.
Oh my god, we got distracted and missed the turn. It's okay, we got the point and we'll quickly go back. Remember, Lab, when we used to play horror games as kids?
Of course, those evenings with popcorn and the old computer. We cursed that creepy monastery so many times.
I wonder how that influenced our work now.
I think it taught us not to panic in the dark. Remember when we first faced that case in the abandoned mine?
Yes, all those sounds and rustling. It felt like something out of an old game.
But thanks to our childhood obsession, we stayed calm and figured it out. No mysticism, just work.
And strangely, it still helps us. I'm glad we spent those horror-filled evenings together.
Me too, Dobie. In our world, every day feels like a horror movie, but we're always ready.
We're on stage 3. Let's keep going. Looks like another maze.
I hope it will be more interesting and challenging. The first one was boring.
It was just preparing us. There are many new mobs at this level. They scared me. Terrifying.
An amazing story took place in our animal town, one that began with very strange events. It all started when we noticed a strange glow in the sky. It didn't look like a regular meteor, and we immediately realized that something was happening. Soon, much to our surprise, aliens appeared from this glow. They were quite unusual. Imagine, they looked like running heads from a Roblox game. These creatures wore bright costumes and were full of enthusiasm.
When they landed, they declared that they didn't come to harm our city, but to become our fans. They loved everything related to our adventures, our city, and they even started copying us, recording our actions and movements just in case. We thought it was just a joke, but when they began setting up fan clubs and running ads about us on their planet, we realized something was wrong.
And that's when the most interesting part began. The aliens told us that they weren't just fans, but that they actually wanted to take over our city and turn it into their fan zone. They were ready to build monuments, organize festivals, and take all of us to their planet to make us symbols of their culture. But that wouldn't be very convenient for us, right? We like our city here, and we weren't planning to move to some foreign place that doesn't suit us.
And so, when we realized that the aliens were seriously determined, we decided to take action. You can't just stop them because they weren't just huge fans, they were also very powerful beings. We needed to come up with something special. And then, Labrador and I came up with a brilliant idea. We decided to create our clones and send them to the alien planet. The clones would essentially be our doubles, entertaining the aliens and showing them that our place on Earth is our home, not their planet.
We turned to our best engineers and inventors, and they helped us create unique cloning devices. With this technology, we created several copies of ourselves, identical to us, but of course, without our memories and personal lives. We sent them to the alien planet. The clones began to work for the aliens, entertaining them and showing them how to properly set up a fan club and, most importantly, how to live in peace and harmony.
When the aliens saw these doubles, they were so amazed that they couldn't believe their eyes. Our clones did everything they were asked to do, and even more. Soon, the aliens realized that their love for our city didn't need to be so obsessive. They understood that we love our city and want to stay here with our friends and family.
In the end, the aliens agreed that our city would stay on Earth and they would return to their planet. We offered them to stay as our friends, not fans, but real friends. As a token of gratitude, they gave us some interesting technologies and promised not to interfere in our affairs anymore. They even built a fan zone for themselves, where they could read about our city and follow our adventures without disturbing us.
And so, the animal city was safe again, and the aliens no longer tried to take us over. Everything ended peacefully, and we all returned to our usual activities. We learned that it's important to respect each other's boundaries, even if someone adores you. And the clones who helped us buy time went down in history as our loyal helpers.
We're going to tell you a story that happened in our town. It all started with rumors. Someone had settled in the forest not far from the town, and everything that people brought there was disappearing. At first, small things, then bigger items. The townspeople started to panic, but Dobie and I decided that it was probably just a rumor. After all, there's always an explanation for everything.
But when Mr. Bobby's toys disappeared, we realized we needed to act. I wasn't too scared, but something wasn't right. Labrador and I decided to check the forest, even though we didn't believe in the supernatural. As soon as we approached the forest, I felt that something strange was going on. It was eerily quiet, and suddenly I heard a strange sound, like something moving on the ground. And then, from the shadows, a strange figure emerged.
I was ready for anything, but this was something I wasn't expecting. The shadow was tall with long arms, and its eyes glowed like two fires in the night. Dobie and I froze, and it was clear that this wasn't an ordinary creature. We started moving forward, but everything around us seemed wrong. The forest became unnaturally silent, and there were no rustling leaves, no sounds from the animals. We soon reached the center of the forest, where there was a strange tree, and that's where everything had been happening.
Under the tree, we found a strange hole. Inside was an old book. Everything around was covered in dust, and the pages of the book were charred. We realized that this wasn't just any book, but an ancient artifact linked to dark forces. Inside were descriptions of rituals that allowed the opening of gateways between worlds. And that's when we understood that something dark was beginning to seep into our world.
Suddenly, we heard that same rustling sound again. Something was moving in our direction. It was the same shadow. We couldn't wait any longer. Grabbing the book, we began to read aloud, trying to find a way to stop it. At that moment, the shadow started approaching at incredible speed, but there was no turning back. We began to chant the incantation, and right before us, the light started to dim, and then the shadow disappeared.
The darkness that had enveloped the forest began to dissipate. When we returned to the town, the townspeople were in shock over what had happened, but we calmed them down. The forest was quiet again, but we knew we had to stay prepared. We don't fully understand what we encountered, but one thing was clear. The danger was real.
Well, friends, our battle with that huge running head is over. But that's not all. Soon we'll tackle the next parts. This was a real challenge, and I'm sure we were lucky to find the exit in time. Just look at this massive chaos it left behind.
Yes, Labrador, it was a real nightmare. The entire map was full of traps, and we barely managed to escape from it. But in the end, we showed that we're not afraid of such challenges. Even though the head was constantly chasing us, we found the strength and bravely overcame all the obstacles.
Hello friends, it's me, Sheriff Labrador, and today we're taking on a series of challenges together with my friend Dobie.
Hey everyone! Yeah, just like Labrador said, we're playing a challenge map in Roblox. The mode is called Escape from the Dungeon.
Our first challenge is parkour on barrels over a huge lava pit. Dobie, are you ready?
Yes, Labrador, I'm ready. Phew, we made it through this challenge. Now we move on to the next one. We have to jump across wooden planks, but the most important thing is not to fall.
Dobie, how do you like this mode? I really enjoy it. The harder the challenges, the more I start loving this game.
I agree, Labrador. This map is amazing. Very well designed and detailed.
Let's move on to the next challenge. We have to run under giant spikes in time. If we don't make it, we lose.
Labrador, this is terrifying. One wrong step and it's game over.
Don't worry, Dobie. We'll get through it for sure.
We did it, Labrador, but we can't relax. There are even harder challenges ahead.
Now we're climbing up a ladder and entering a strange room filled with chests. We need to open them all and find the key to the door.
Oh, Labrador! We have to find the key to escape from this scary room.
I've opened so many chests, but still no key. Dobie, how about you?
Labrador, come here. I found the key.
Hooray, we're out!
On the next level, there are invisible traps under our feet. Labrador, we have to get through this level on our first try.
We're slowly making our way through, carefully jumping over the invisible traps.
Yes, we cleared this level on the first try. Teamwork makes anything possible.
Now we have to climb down giant wooden beams, but we can't fall. There's poisonous water below, and if we fall, we lose.
I agree, Labrador. We can't afford to lose now.
Dobie, we're so close to beating this level.
Yes, Labrador. We're almost there, and we did it. We're moving on to the next challenge. Let's grab the checkpoint. Up next is parkour on rocks, but if we fall, we'll get crushed and lose.
Oh no, Dobie, we fell. Is this the end?
Don't worry, Labrador. That's why we took the checkpoint. We have another chance.
Yes, we did it, and we're moving forward.
We finished the parkour, and a boulder pushed us straight into the next challenge.
Now we have to jump from rock to rock at super speed. Below us is a huge sea of acid. If we fall, we lose.
Phew, Labrador, we made it through this level.
The day started as usual, with a strong cup of coffee and another morning briefing. I was going through reports when my radio suddenly blared with an urgent alarm. The dispatcher's voice was shaking. Something unimaginable had happened at the Rainbow Meadow Kindergarten. Eyewitnesses reported that a giant dragon had suddenly appeared in the center of the building and was now holding it under siege. Inside were teachers and children. Dobie had just entered the station holding a box of donuts in his paws, but as soon as he heard the call, he set it aside immediately. This was an emergency.
When we arrived at the scene, we were met with a sight straight out of a fantasy movie. The dragon, massive, covered in green scales with enormous wings and eyes that burned like embers, was perched on the roof of the building. Its tail slowly moved, breaking apart the wooden fence of the playground, while its clawed paws gripped the chimney. Panic-stricken adults ran in all directions. Fire had already spread to the top floor, and we knew there was no time to waste.
The first thing we needed to do was find out if there were any injured people inside. As we approached, one of the teachers informed us that all the children had barricaded themselves in the playroom on the second floor. They were scared, but safe for the moment. The only problem was that they couldn't get out. The main entrance was blocked by debris, and fire had cut off the emergency exit. The dragon watched our every move, and clearly wasn't going to let us pass easily.
We decided to split up. Labrador would distract the monster while I tried to get inside through a window. The dragon tilted its head as Labrador pulled out a megaphone and turned the siren to maximum volume. The loud noise made the creature flinch. It turned toward him and let out a deep, rumbling growl. At that moment, I ran to the window, pulled out a crowbar, and struck the glass with all my might.
The dragon saw me as a threat and suddenly spread its wings. I barely had time to jump back as it dove from the roof straight at me. The ground shook from the impact, and I rolled to the side. Meanwhile, Dobie was already climbing inside. I had to hold the monster's attention. If it brought the building down, it would be a disaster. I spotted a fire hydrant nearby and rushed toward it without hesitation. I needed to open it and try to spray the dragon with water.
Inside the building, it was unbearably hot. The walls were cracking, and the air was filled with the smell of smoke. The children huddled in a corner, trembling with fear. I promised them I'd get them out and told them to hold hands. We started making our way to the exit, but suddenly there was a loud creak. The ceiling beam collapsed, blocking our path. We needed to find another way out.
I struck the hydrant several times with my baton, and a powerful stream of water burst out. The dragon roared as the water hit its face. It recoiled, shaking its head, giving me a chance to regroup. I quickly scanned my surroundings, searching for a way to finally subdue it. Then an idea struck me. I could use the nearby construction cranes to trap the monster.
We found a passage leading to an old storage room. There was a back door, but it was jammed shut. The children huddled together in fear as I tried to break it open with my shoulder. The smoke was getting thicker, the air hotter. We were running out of time. I grabbed a metal pipe and used it as a lever. The door finally gave way and we rushed outside.
The dragon was taking to the air. This was our last chance. I sprinted toward the construction crane, jumped into the cabin and yanked the controls. A massive net filled with steel beams swayed in the air. The dragon soared upward, but I had timed it perfectly. I released the load right on top of it. The beams struck its wings, sending it crashing back to the ground. The beast roared, tangled in the net.
I saw the children running into the arms of their relieved parents, but the dragon was still dangerous. It thrashed, roared, and struggled against the net. At that moment, specialists from the Magical Creature Protection Agency arrived. They used special tranquilizer darts, and within minutes, the monster finally calmed down.
We stood there, catching our breath, watching as the specialists loaded the dragon onto a transport platform to take it to a sanctuary. The children were safe. The firefighters had put out the flames, and the teachers couldn't stop thanking us. Dobie and I exchanged a glance. Another case closed.
As everything settled down, I looked up at the sky where the dragon had once soared. This was one of the toughest challenges we had ever faced, but the most important thing was that no one got hurt. We had done our job. And now, I think it's time to head back to the station and finally finish those donuts I left behind before this crazy day began.
The day started as usual. Coffee, reports, and post-inspections. Everything was calm in the city of animals. Dobie and I were about to start our morning patrol when a raccoon named Timmy burst into the station. He looked frightened, his eyes darting around, and he was out of breath. He told us that his friend, the fox Rick, had disappeared. The last time anyone saw him, he was playing a new game, Poppy Playtime 4. Timmy swore he had seen Rick literally vanish into the screen. At first, we thought it was a joke or just childish fears, but then Timmy showed us his tablet. The game's loading screen was still glowing, and there, in the reflection of a store window inside the factory, was a silhouette. It looked just like Rick. I exchanged glances with Dobie. This all seemed impossible, but we couldn't ignore it. If the game was somehow pulling players inside, we needed to figure out why. We sat down in front of the screen. The title flickered, and then the words appeared. "Welcome to the Playtime Toy Factory. Enter your names to join." I typed in my name. Dobie did the same. The moment we pressed enter, the screen flashed, and darkness swallowed us.
When I opened my eyes, dim lighting surrounded us. We stood in a long corridor. Flickering lamps cast strange shadows on the walls. The air was stale, filled with dust and a strangely sweet scent, like old gummy candy. Labrador looked around. A poster on the wall read, "Welcome to Playtime Factory. Keep smiling." Below it stood a broken toy, a giant plush bear with an eerily wide grin. In the distance, we heard children's laughter. It was quiet, but it sent chills down my spine. We moved forward. The factory looked abandoned. Scattered toy parts lay on the floor, and the silence was only interrupted by the occasional creak of metal. Then we heard whispering.
The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet. The citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out. Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare at full speed. Every day in our city starts differently. Sometimes it's peaceful, patrolling the streets, handling complaints, rescuing kittens from trees. And sometimes it turns into a real nightmare. Today was, without a doubt, one of the worst. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee when the radio crackled sharply, and the dispatcher's voice came through with such urgency that my morning drowsiness disappeared instantly. Something strange was happening at the Central City Hospital. Witnesses reported eerie sounds, screams, and laughter. Yes, genuine, sinister laughter echoing through the hospital's speakers. As I processed this information, the door to the station burst open and Dobie rushed in. He was holding a box of donuts, but the moment he saw my face, he set it down on the table, forgetting about breakfast. I briefly explained the situation, and within minutes, we were racing toward the scene in our police car.
When we arrived, it was immediately clear. This wasn't a normal call. All the hospital windows were covered with black curtains, and on the glass of the main entrance hung a strange poster. A perfect smile is the key to life. Below the words was a terrifying grin with perfectly straight but unnaturally sharp teeth. A crowd had gathered outside. People murmured in fear, some trying to call their loved ones inside. But no one answered. The hospital seemed like a sealed-off world, one that no one could enter or leave. As soon as we approached the doors, a voice boomed from the speakers. Deep, hoarse, but with fake cheerfulness. "Welcome to the Center for the Perfect Smile, Sheriffs. We've been expecting you." Then, with a loud click, the doors groaned open.
Usually, when doors open by themselves, it's a sign you should stay away. But we had no choice. There could be injured people, hostages, or worse inside. We stepped in. Inside, an eerie silence reigned. The dim lights flickered, making it feel like we had entered an abandoned clinic. Medical posters hung everywhere, but their messages were distorted. Everyone must smile. Don't be afraid, this won't hurt. Your teeth belong to me. I took a step forward and suddenly felt something sticky under my paws. Looking down, I saw the floor covered in a substance resembling toothpaste, but with a strong chemical smell.
The hallway stretched forward, leading us deeper into the hospital. We could hear faint noises, like whispering behind the walls, but too indistinct to understand. A shiver ran down my spine. Suddenly, a man in a white coat dashed around the corner. He was gasping for breath, his eyes filled with terror. A doctor! He grabbed my arm, squeezing it so tightly that I knew he was on the edge of panic. Stop him! Stop him before it's too late! He wheezed. But before we could ask him anything, a deafening alarm blared, and the doctor convulsed as if struck by electricity. I turned just in time to see a mechanical arm extend from the wall, ending in a long, gleaming needle. It stabbed into the doctor's neck. He froze, then slowly collapsed to the floor. We stepped back. "Disobedient patients shouldn't be wandering around the hospital," the voice from the speakers sneered.
It was clear now. Everything here was automated, and one person was controlling this madness. The twisted dentist who had taken over the hospital. We moved forward, passing rooms filled with horrifying tools. In one of them, a dental chair stood surrounded by mechanical arms, each holding sharp instruments. X-rays lined the walls, but they weren't normal. Every jaw on them had elongated, pointed teeth, as if someone had deliberately altered them. Dobie muttered a curse under his breath. We needed to find the head doctor, or someone from the staff who could explain what was happening.
We reached the main hall, where a massive statue stood in the center of a tooth, a giant, gleaming human tooth, enlarged dozens of times. Its surface shone as if it were made of real enamel. Then he appeared. A loud screech echoed from the speakers, followed by an eerily cheerful voice. "Oh, finally! I've been waiting for you, sheriffs." We turned and saw a figure emerging from the shadows, tall and thin, dressed in a long white coat, yet moving with an unnerving puppet-like fluidity. His yellow-lensed glasses reflected the dim light, and his mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. Dr. Pearl at your service. Ready for your checkup?
I clenched my teeth and stepped forward, but suddenly the walls began to shift. The floor trembled, and the giant tooth statue started splitting open, revealing a deep, dark shaft beneath it. You won't leave until your treatment is complete. That's when I realized it was a trap. We were standing in the center of the room, surrounded by walls that were slowly closing in.
We had little time. I spotted a control panel near the door and rushed toward it. At the last second, I managed to hack the system and the walls stopped moving. But that was just the beginning. Dr. Pearl clapped his hands and figures began emerging from the shaft beneath the statue. Patients, but twisted. Their mouths were frozen in wide, grotesque smiles, and in their hands they clutched massive metallic toothbrushes. We braced ourselves for the final battle.
When the patients began crawling out of the shaft, their mouths unnaturally stretched into wide grins, clutching massive metallic toothbrushes in their hands. I realized they weren't just hypnotized hostages. Their movements were jerky, mechanical, as if someone was controlling them like puppets. Dr. Pearl stood off to the side, arms crossed over his chest, watching with pleasure. The flickering lights cast his elongated shadow on the walls, making him seem even taller. Dobie and I exchanged glances. We had to come up with something fast before we were completely surrounded. I was the first to charge forward, ducking under the massive toothbrush swung by one of the patients. He smashed it into the floor, shattering it into pieces, but immediately, as if on command, two more lunged at me, aiming their strange weapons at my head.
I knew Pearl was controlling them, but how? We needed to find the source of the signal. I blocked a toothbrush strike, kicking the nearest patient's arm. He flinched but kept moving, as if he couldn't feel pain. Then I noticed it. Each of them had a small metallic box embedded in the skin at the back of their necks. I understood. These were control devices. Labrador was fighting off 3 at once, while I jumped at the closest patient and ripped the box from his neck. A strange crackling noise sounded, and he instantly collapsed to the floor like a broken toy. They're connected to a system, I shouted. We have to disable the main transmitter. Dr. Pearl laughed, his teeth gleaming under the flickering lights.
I knocked one of the patients aside and quickly scanned the room. There had to be a control center somewhere in this hall. That's when I noticed a metallic panel on the wall, standing out among the hospital's old-fashioned decor. Without hesitation, I yanked out my baton and hurled it straight at the panel. A loud screech followed, sparks flying in all directions. For a second, the patients froze, but then they started moving again. The transmitter had to be somewhere else. Pearl sighed and took a step forward. What a disappointment, sheriffs. I thought you were smarter.
And then I saw it. Under his lab coat, something faintly glowed on his chest. A barely noticeable green light. I remembered how old radio transmitters worked. Sometimes, to distribute a signal across an entire system, the host had to be at the center of it. That could only mean one thing. Pearl himself was the main transmitter. I signaled Labrador and pretended to attack from the front. Pearl smirked, but in that moment, Labrador lunged from the side, pulled out a taser, and pressed it directly to the evil dentist's chest. Electricity surged through his body, and he convulsed like a mannequin on broken springs. At that moment, all the patients around us froze, then slowly began to collapse to the floor. Their hands no longer gripped the oversized toothbrushes, and their faces, now free of those grotesque smiles, showed only exhaustion and confusion.
Dr. Pearl fell to his knees, his pristine lab coat now crumpled and stained. You don't understand? He gasped, his voice suddenly uncertain. I grabbed him by the collar. We understand just fine. You wanted to turn everyone into your test subjects, but your hospital is closed for good.
As we cuffed him, the hospital doors finally unlocked and our colleagues stormed inside. Doctors and patients began to regain consciousness, slowly realizing what had happened. I glanced at the giant tooth statue. It now looked utterly ridiculous. You know, I said to Labrador, after this, I definitely won't be visiting the dentist anytime soon. He chuckled. Just don't forget to brush your teeth. We escorted Pearl outside. The setting sun painted the sky in dark hues. It was over. Another insane case, closed. But just as we got into the car, the radio crackled to life. A new call. Labrador glanced at me, sighed, and started the engine.
Save us! Guys, watch this video until the end. Like it, and leave a comment, and you'll save us. Hello, friends. Today, Dobie and I have found ourselves in a real predicament. We've been trapped by the evil Karen, who believes she's the only beautiful person on Earth. Her house is a fortress filled with traps and secrets. We have to work together to escape. Karen is so wealthy that her house is packed with all sorts of gadgets she uses to keep us captive.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Labrador is right. Karen is a real villain. Her beauty is deceptive. Behind it lies a cold heart. She trapped us and wants to keep us here forever to be the only beauty around. Her house is indeed luxurious, but the atmosphere is sinister. You can feel her presence in every corner. Everything around reminds us of her vanity and pursuit of perfection.
Every room in her house is a separate challenge. We have to work together to activate hidden mechanisms and platforms that allow us to move forward. Teamwork is essential here. I press a button and a path opens up for Dobie. Then he does the same for me. Step by step, we advance despite all the obstacles Karen throws at us.
This really requires complete synchronization and trust in each other. Only then can we overcome these challenges. In some places, the house feels like a maze where it's easy to get lost. But we won't give up because our goal is to escape and stop Karen. Her control over this place makes her even more dangerous. But I believe we can handle it together.
Moreover, Karen's house is filled with mirrors and reflections. She obviously adores her reflection and thinks it gives her more power. But we must not succumb to her influence. Instead, we use it as a clue to find hidden exits or keys. Every action she takes against us becomes a new opportunity for us to find a way out.
The rooms where she keeps her treasures and jewelry are particularly interesting. These halls look dazzling, but they hide the most dangerous traps. Karen doesn't want anyone to steal her jewels, so she has done everything to guard them. However, in these halls, we can also find important items that will help us escape. We need to be extremely careful and attentive.
We understand that at the end of this journey, we will face a final showdown with Karen herself. She will probably defend her kingdom to the last, but we have no choice but to fight. We know that defeating her is the only way to regain our freedom. Karen may be strong and cunning, but our friendship and unity give us the strength to move forward.
We hope for your support, friends. With each step, we get closer to freedom and victory over Karen. This path is not easy, but we believe we can overcome all the obstacles. Your faith in us helps us keep going. Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Recently, something completely unusual happened in our town. I guess I should start from the very beginning. One morning, Madame Karen, the most beautiful lady I had ever seen, came to visit us. She appeared in the square, and her dazzling beauty mesmerized everyone around. It seemed like no one could resist her charms. Soon, we noticed that people started acting strangely. They began bringing her jewels and the most delicious candies, as if they were under some kind of hypnosis.
It was truly incredible. Every day, we saw the townspeople lining up to give Madame Karen their most valuable possessions. Labrador and I immediately realized that something wasn't right. Madame Karen didn't just appear in our town for no reason. She was clearly using her beauty to manipulate the townspeople.
We began an investigation. At first, everything seemed too tangled. No one could explain why they were so eager to please Madame Karen. Professor Owl, our old friend and sage, advised us to pay attention to the behavior of the townspeople. She suggested that Madame Karen might have been using some sort of method to control them. We decided to keep a closer watch on her.
One night, we decided to follow Madame Karen. She lived in a large mansion on the outskirts of town. We sneaked inside and discovered that there was a huge mirror ball in her room. It was a device that emitted hypnotic waves, controlling the will of anyone who came under its influence. We realized that we needed to turn it off immediately.
We came up with a plan. I took on the task of distracting Madame Karen while Dobie disabled the device. At the moment she started suspecting something was wrong, I engaged her in conversation. It was difficult because her beauty could really drive anyone mad, but I knew I couldn't give in to her charms.
Meanwhile, I made my way to the mirror ball. Turning it off wasn't easy. It was protected by a complex system, but thanks to our skills and experience in situations like this, I found a weak spot. I quickly dismantled the mechanism and shut off the hypnotic waves. As soon as the ball stopped emitting waves, all the townspeople under Madame Karen's influence started coming to their senses.
Madame Karen lost her power. Without the hypnotic device, her charms no longer worked. The townspeople began to realize what had happened, and they were filled with gratitude for our intervention. We arrested Madame Karen and handed her over to justice. She could no longer harm anyone in our town.
This story taught us a lot. External beauty doesn't always reflect true intentions. It's important to always stay alert and not be swayed by first impressions. Labrador and I did everything we could to protect our town and its people, and in the end, justice prevailed. Now, our town is peaceful and calm again. Everyone has returned to their usual routines, and there is no longer any fear of someone manipulating us.
Ah, dear subscribers, something unexpected and, frankly, quite strange happened in our town. Let me start from the beginning. One fine day, we noticed that all the most beautiful boys and girls started gathering together. At first, it was just small groups, but then the situation started spiraling out of control. These young residents of the town, all possessing incredible beauty, suddenly began to unite. It was like magic. The more they came together, the stronger and more attractive they became. And when their powers reached their peak, from their union emerged none other than the boss of beauty. I can tell you, it was something truly out of the ordinary.
And it really became a problem. The boss of beauty wasn't just beautiful, he was huge, powerful, and as I discovered, not exactly friendly. This giant started destroying everything in his path. He walked through the town, and his shining image literally made everyone fall to their knees. Some people were forced to look at him in admiration. Others tried to find the strength to turn away, but no one could resist his attractiveness.
I can't help but mention that this was truly a nightmare. Everything we knew about dealing with criminals wasn't helping. This wasn't a regular threat. It was a true wonder of nature. The boss of beauty wasn't just destroying buildings. He was destroying the morals of the townspeople, making them forget about the important things in life and focus only on appearances. This was dangerous for everyone because we had no idea how to fight it.
So, we had to act fast. We started gathering information on what could stop this giant of beauty. I suggested using an old trick. Sometimes too much beauty becomes inconvenient. We turned to the wise residents of the town, those who weren't so dependent on appearances. In the end, it turned out that to defeat the boss of beauty, we just needed to make him see the real, unidealized picture of the world. We decided to carry out an operation that would shatter his illusion.
We started by asking some of our friends, who weren't as attractive, but were very smart, to use mirrors and other reflective surfaces. We set a trap so that his reflection would show him something he didn't want to see. Mirrors outside, combined with reflective surfaces inside buildings, began to create optical illusions. We created such a reflection that the boss of beauty himself started doubting his own strength.
And it worked! The boss of beauty began losing his confidence. The mirrors started showing him that his appearance wasn't everything, and that there were other important things in the town. By the time he realized he couldn't control his emotions through his beauty, we took the opportunity to weaken his power. We ripped control of the town from his hands and destroyed the magic of his attractiveness.
And so, thanks to our plan, the boss of beauty stopped destroying the town. We brought him back to reality, where not only external beauty matters, but also inner qualities. This was a lesson not only for him, but also for all the townspeople. Beauty is important, of course, but it doesn't solely define who you are. We saved the town, and people began to appreciate not just appearances, but the things that truly make them strong.
Yes, we won, but I'll tell you one thing. We also need to be careful with beauty. Sometimes it can cloud the mind, but only true values will help us stay on the right path. In the end, what matters is what's inside, and our town is once again as it should be, harmonious and happily balanced.
After we destroyed her mechanisms and broke all the traps, Karen activated her final defense. She transformed into a giant right in front of us. Her entire body became enormous, and her eyes burned with evil. We knew this was our final battle. But how could we defeat such a giant Karen?
We quickly noticed that there were weak spots on her body, glowing brightly. These were clearly her vulnerabilities. But to reach those spots, we needed to distract her. We immediately realized that we had an unconventional weapon, the poop that Karen absolutely hated. It was just like her own gifts to anyone who didn't please her.
Karen started losing her confidence more and more. We saw her strength fading, and with every hit she grew weaker. Eventually, she collapsed to the ground, unable to stand before us any longer. We defeated her, not with strength, but with persistence and teamwork. Thank you all for watching. We defeated Evil Karen.
Hi, friends. Today we're going to try to escape from an evil dog in Roblox. It's right behind us, but it seems to be sleeping. So for now, we're safe.
Hi, everyone. Not only do we have challenges ahead, but also boss battles. By the way, if you know the name of this dog, let us know in the comments.
Sheriff Labrador, what if we jump on her belly?
Let's do it, but be ready in case she wakes up. Don't worry.
I think she's stuffed and watched TV all night.
Yeah, looks like we need to crawl through the vents. But there's parkour ahead. Good thing I did that back in school.
Oh no, you accidentally broke her mom's vase. Looks like she's sleeping soundly. Hope she won't notice when she wakes up.
Let's quickly pass through and slip away. Oh, here's a huge room. See those metal platforms? We need to press a button.
I wonder why this dog created all these challenges. I don't think she could handle them herself, although they could be useful for maintaining health.
Wow, it's a rope bridge. I used to ride one of those when I was a kid. Maybe she built all these obstacles so no one could disturb her sleep. But here we are, trying to escape from her. Strange that she kidnapped us. Look, she has a family. Why can't we see them? And who's the guy in the picture on the left? Looks like Tom's friend.
I have a theory. We've entered a world of talking animals. Maybe this is hell because no one wants to be forced to talk, especially about things they don't want to.
Probably. She built all these trials to avoid the fate of endless conversations. Now we need to find the others and figure out why we were kidnapped.
Maybe they kidnapped us so we'd replace them in conversations and they could be free? Or maybe they feed on other animals and that gives them the ability to talk? Or maybe they're just a little crazy. We need to focus on getting out of here and figuring out what's going on.
We need to crawl through the vents. It's the way to the next location. Hopefully we'll meet some new characters.
Look, it's Talking Tom.
Oh, he fell.
Get ready to run.
I don't think he has good intentions. Have you ever seen Tom with red eyes? He looks like he's ready to crush us like pancakes. Looks like he's about to start shooting lasers.
What if he can do more than just talk? We'll need superpowers to apprehend the suspects.
Why is he hiding around the corner? Did he think we couldn't see him?
Maybe he's a little dumb or just sleepy and disoriented.
He has funny little teeth like a baby. You know, he even seems a little cute to me.
Oh, looks like you like all of this. Hope you don't start turning into one of them. Are you in a trance or something?
I don't know. Hope I'm not getting absorbed by this atmosphere. If something happens, let me know.
Of course, let's go through the vent. We've already dealt with Tom. Let's see who's ahead. Looks like a kid's room.
Maybe it's Ben's room?
You're right, it's a girl. I wonder what her name is and if she's facing the same problem as Ben.
While you were talking, we're already in her paws. Why did we get teleported back? I don't think she's as evil as Tom.
I think so too. If she wanted to bite us, she would have gotten out through the bars. There are huge gaps in them.
Oh, her name is Lily. Strange that there's no room for her brother. Why are they separated like that? Let us know in the comments if you have a brother or sister and live in the same room.
What if something happened to her brother? Maybe that's why everyone went crazy and thinks we killed him.
Dobie, you're daydreaming again. It's distracting us from our main goal. I don't think it's as scary as you think.
We're in the central ventilation system that provides oxygen to the entire complex. I wonder what we can leave as a souvenir here.
It was an ordinary night when Dobie and I were patrolling the city of animals. Nothing unusual until a strange light appeared in the sky. It was pulsing, changing colors, and moving like it was alive. I immediately realized it wasn't a meteor or a regular drone. We decided to approach it. When we got to the deserted park, the light grew brighter and descended right in front of us. We stopped, turned on the sirens, and began observing. And then, from that light, dogs began to emerge.
I thought it was some kind of illusion, but no, these dogs looked nothing like us. They were large, with bright, almost glowing eyes. Some of them wore metal collars, which were clearly more than just decorations. I felt something stir inside me. It was like encountering something completely different. They approached us confidently, as if they knew exactly what they were doing.
They didn't look like ordinary dogs. Their behavior was calm, but determined, and their eyes held such confidence that it was immediately clear. They weren't random visitors. One of the dogs, who seemed to be the leader, stepped forward and stood on its hind legs. It looked at us, and we realized that it wasn't just trying to scare us, it was trying to communicate. It began explaining that they came from another world, where everything is the opposite. There, dogs are the rulers, and humans are the pets.
I couldn't believe my ears. It felt like something out of a science fiction movie. These dogs claimed that their civilization was much older and more advanced than ours. They traveled between worlds, and now that they had found ours, they wanted to propose an exchange. We, the dogs, should become pets in their world, and they would become the masters in ours. And to do this, they were willing to use their technology to move us there.
I was stunned. We, the dogs, would become pets, and these creatures, strange as it sounded, would take our place. But their confidence in this proposal was so strong that there was no point in doubting. They said their world was one of harmony and order, where dogs rule and humans serve as pets. I felt that this wasn't just a random appearance of aliens. It was a proposal that could change everything.
I kept trying to wrap my head around what they were offering us. Exchange. It wasn't just a word. It meant that our world would change forever. We could try living on the other side, in their world, where dogs were rulers and humans were our pets. We could experience a life we'd never known and see how everything worked there. But I also realized that if we agreed, we would never return.
We were faced with this choice: exchange worlds, become pets in another world, or stay in ours. But knowing that would mark the end of ordinary life. I didn't know what to do, but in their eyes, I saw sincerity. This was more than just an offer. It was an opportunity. We could change not just our lives, but also understand what it meant to be part of another reality.
When they offered to use their technology to travel between worlds, I felt my heart race. It seemed unbelievable, but the thought that we could become part of their world was inevitable. Dogs ruling humans. Life in another world. I didn't know what awaited us, but I was sure of one thing. From this moment on, everything would change.
The day Dobie and I received the call, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. We were patrolling the streets of Animal Town, as usual, when our radar beeped. It was an emergency call, and when we heard what was happening, I felt my heart race. Something terrible was approaching. An evil scientist, known for his bizarre inventions, was threatening to launch a machine that could turn rain into a shower of sweet candy. It seemed harmless. What could be wrong with candy rain? But we knew the consequences could be catastrophic.
As soon as we heard about the scientist's plan, we knew exactly what was at stake. Candy rain wasn't just a fun prank. Sheriff and I knew that too much sugar was a serious threat. If this rain actually fell, all the kids would get toothaches. But it wasn't just that. We all know how hard it is to control the urge to eat a candy. What if there were too many of them? It could lead to severe dental issues and even health problems. We had to act fast.
We sped through the city, and with each passing kilometer, the sense of urgency grew. The scientist, as always, couldn't just leave people alone. He was insanely confident in his plan and didn't think about the consequences. In his lab, a massive machine was already prepared to launch the candy rain.
When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate.
Well, here we are. Behind this door, we've got the map's final boss waiting for us, and it looks like we were wrong. This isn't just any boss. It's a giant robot named Ben. Let's try shooting him right in the teeth. I'm aiming for his legs. Maybe that's his weak spot and he'll fall.
Wow! Ben turned out to be a real coward. Instead of fighting, he just built a giant robot.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he were sitting in a chair right now, sipping coffee and watching a movie. I hope it's not alcohol, though.
And he's probably watching football while we're attacking him. This is so unfair. When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate, and lollipops. I quickly assessed the situation. If we didn't intervene, tomorrow all the kids would be in trouble. As soon as we turned off the machine, the sweet rain stopped.
Wow, we won! Don't forget to congratulate us in the comments, but it's time to leave this crazy world of talking animals.
Well, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed our escape from the talking animals.
Yeah, don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. Also, check out our other videos and let us know what you'd like to see next. Time to move on. Let's go to new adventures. Wait, what's going on over there? I hope that's not a giant ginger robot. Or Angela. Bye. To everyone following my stories, tonight I'm going to share something that still echoes in my bones. This isn't a tale about glory or medals. This is about instinct, brotherhood, and what it means to stand between chaos and the innocent. This is the story of the day the bank in Animal Town was taken over, and what we had to become to stop it. It was a humid Thursday, midsummer. You know those days where the air feels heavy even before sunrise? That was the kind of morning it was. The cicadas hadn't even started their usual songs yet. The streets were too quiet, too calm. I was patrolling the East End, near the fire station, sipping on what was left of my lukewarm coffee. Dobie was downtown, as usual, near the main square, probably watching traffic or making sure the raccoons weren't spray painting the post office again. That's when it came through the radio. A burst of static, then a scream. Not the kind you hear in movies, but raw, real. A scream that cuts through silence like a blade through paper. Then came the code, 1090, bank robbery. I didn't hesitate. I dropped my cup, floored the gas, and radioed Dobie. I remember every second of that drive. The way the city suddenly didn't feel like home. Every alley could hide a threat. Every window could hold a barrel. I turned the corner onto Pine and saw them. 3 black vans parked diagonally in front of the Animal Town National Bank. No logos, no plates. Professional, intentional, calculated. By the time I parked and ducked behind the cruiser, Dobie was already there. He gave me a quick nod. No panic, just readiness. That's who he is. Calm under pressure. I gestured toward the upper windows. Silhouettes were moving inside. Fast. One of them held a rifle. Another shoved what looked like a hostage into the vault corridor. We had a hostage situation. At least a dozen lives on the line, and no time to wait for backup. Dobie signaled. He'd circle the back. I'd draw attention at the front. Classic split maneuver. We've done it 100 times, but this wasn't some junkie with a toy gun. These were trained, armored, and absolutely merciless. I stepped into the open, my paws raised, no weapon in sight. I knew they were watching. I needed them to believe they had control. I shouted a bluff, said the place was surrounded, that the air unit was 5 minutes out. I counted on their nerves to spike, and I was right. A shot rang out, a warning. They were scared. That was leverage. Then I saw it. A small face in the 3rd floor window, a squirrel kit, trembling. No older than 6, her paw pressed against the glass. She was looking straight at me. That's when the job stopped being about strategy. Now it was personal. I knew I had to get inside. Fast. Dobie was already in position at the rear stairwell. We didn't need words, just the signal. A tap on the radio. 3 short clicks. That was the moment. But I'll let Dobie take it from here. He saw what I couldn't. And what he did inside, that's something I'll never forget.
Labrador says he remembers every second of that day. I remember every heartbeat. When he stepped into the line of fire, it bought me exactly 23 seconds. That's how long it took me to scale the side fence, disable the rear lock, and slide into the utility hallway of the bank. The place smelled like fear, like sweat and tension and old carpet. I moved low, fast, quiet. The gang was better armed than we'd imagined. Automatic weapons, tactical gear, even earpieces. These weren't locals. This was a planned strike, likely orchestrated outside Animal Town. And they weren't just after cash. They were looking for something inside the vault, something specific. I crept down the lower corridor and heard voices, arguing. Someone shouting at a fox, likely one of the bank managers, demanding a code. She was sobbing. I saw her heels shaking under the desk. I didn't have a shot, but I had something better. Patience. I waited for the leader to step away. I counted his steps, watched his rhythm. When he passed the breaker box, I moved. One paw, one move. Grabbed him from behind, silenced him in seconds, duct taped his muzzle, zip-tied his legs. Quiet, efficient, 1 down, 3 to go. Then I heard the elevator ding. I ducked behind the filing cabinet just as another entered the room. This one carrying a duffel full of what looked like encrypted hard drives. Not cash, drives. They weren't here for money, they were here for data. And then I knew. This wasn't just a robbery, it was espionage. I radioed Labrador, gave the silent code. He moved in, front door, Full tactical, flashbang. The rest was chaos. Glass shattered, lights flickered, hostages screamed. The gang panicked. One tried to use a hostage as a shield. Labrador took a clean shot, disarmed him without a scratch. Another ran toward the stairwell, right into me. It ended in 7 minutes. 7 minutes of smoke, fire, screams, and strategy. When the last of them was cuffed, the squirrel kid from the window came running toward Labrador. She didn't say a word, just hugged him, tight, like she knew. We found out later they were part of an international tech ring, using small-town banks as access points to cover something massive, something global, and we'd stop them. But not because we were stronger or faster, because we were willing to see, to feel, to fight for the people inside that bank, not just the law. Almost a year has passed since that day. Labrador still checks the security cams every morning. I still walk past the bank sometimes, just to make sure the breeze feels right. And that little squirrel girl, she now sends me drawings every week, mostly of 2 dogs and badges, standing in front of a big building with the sun behind them. She says we're heroes, but the truth is, we're just 2 old cops who remember what it means to not look away when the world starts falling down. And maybe that's enough. You'd think that after a takedown like that, the city would exhale, that people would rest easy, knowing the bad guys were in cages, and their data, their money, their lives were safe. But safety is never permanent. It's something you have to fight for every day. A week after the bank incident, I was walking the squirrel kid. Her name's Mira, by the way, home from her new art class. Her mother had asked if I could spend time with her. Mira had stopped sleeping through the night, and she said when I was around, the nightmares stopped. We were halfway down Chestnut Lane when I noticed something. An unmarked van, parked too neatly, too deliberately. Its tires were clean, like it had just been placed there. No town permit in the window, no dealership sticker, blackout windows. I told Mira to walk ahead and wait by the flower shop. She nodded. Brave girl. I walked past the van, casually glanced at the license plate. It was a fake. I didn't call for backup, not yet. I walked around the block, circled behind the alley, climbed the fire escape of the old bookstore next door. From the rooftop, I had a clear view of the van. 2 figures inside, watching the bank, the same bank we just secured a week ago. I radioed Labrador, gave the phrase we use when something smells like a setup. The crows are nesting. Within 5 minutes, he was there. He didn't need to ask what was going on. One look and he knew. We weren't done. The original crew was in jail, but the data they came for, still dangerous, still valuable, and someone still wanted it. This wasn't just a second wave. This was retaliation. We ran the surveillance quietly, marked the vehicle, got the drone footage. We didn't act. Not yet. We waited. Sometimes the hardest part of our job isn't the action. It's the stillness, the holding, the watching, knowing danger is there, breathing in sync with yours, and waiting for your weakness. 3 nights later, it came. They hit the police records office. Not the vault, not the money, the records. They weren't after the original drives. They were after what we knew about them. I was on shift, alone. Labrador was across town, helping with a local charity auction. Something about raising money for a new wildlife hospital. The kind of event he never missed. Not because he loved mingling, but because he believed in the cause. Even so, I knew he'd leave the mayor mid-toast if I called. And I did. He picked up instantly. I said 2 words. They're in. He didn't even respond. Just moved. By the time he arrived, I'd already secured the side entrance. One intruder was down. He'd underestimated how fast I move in the dark. The other 2 were still inside. I could hear their footsteps above me in the archive room, flipping through files, looking for something. Labrador took the stairs. I took the elevator. Silent mode. We coordinated the sweep wordlessly. That's how we work. 2 halves of one mind. When we breached the room, they didn't even try to run. They stood frozen, like deer in headlights. Not out of fear, but shock, because they weren't expecting us. They thought the town would go soft after the first hit, that we'd grow lazy, that the heroes would rest. They were wrong. We recovered 2 stolen flash drives, a forged badge from a neighboring district, and a list of every bank employee. Names, routines, family members. This was bigger than theft. It was targeting, pressure, a network meant to make Animal Town kneel. But we don't kneel.